Chapter 1, Hard Muscle. The moment Marcus Hale stepped into the sun-drenched office of LeClaire Enterprises, he knew two things. 1, he hated skyscrapers, and 2, he was going to have his hands full. And that was before Riven LeClaire turned around. The CEO was perched on the edge of his sleek glass desk, legs crossed, champagne flute in hand, dark hair artfully tousled like he'd just rolled out of bed and probably had, judging by the faint hickey peeking from his open collar. His suit was perfectly tailored, black with a crimson sheen, and the smirk he wore was enough to disarm a small army. "Ah, you must be the new muscle," Riven purred, eyes dragging slowly over Marcus's form. "Very solid. I approve." Marcus didn't blink. "Mr. LeClaire." Riven, the CEO corrected, tilting his head. "Unless you're into formalities. In which case, sir has a certain ring to it. I'm here to do a job. That's all." "Ooh. Stoic. Broody. Built like a wall. You're my type." Marcus gritted his teeth behind a neutral expression. He had dealt with politicians, actors, even royalty. None of them had looked at him like they wanted to climb him like a tree within 5 seconds of meeting. "I read your file," Riven continued, setting his flute down with a delicate clink. "Special Forces. 5 tours. Private security for the Saudi prince. Impressive resume. But tell me," he sauntered closer, "can you handle a high-risk, high-maintenance client with very specific needs?" He was close now, too close. Marcus could smell his cologne, expensive spice, and something dark underneath. Riven reached out, fingers just barely grazing the lapel of his black tactical suit. Marcus stepped back. "Keep your hands to yourself, sir." Riven chuckled, unabashed. "So you do speak. Excellent. This might be more fun than I thought." Marcus's jaw clenched. "I'm here because there was an attempted breach last week. Your personal data was targeted. My job is to make sure it doesn't happen again. That means reviewing your schedule, escorting you in and out of locations, and implementing physical security protocols. That doesn't include entertaining your flirtations." Riven raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. "No? You sure? Because the last one didn't seem to mind all that much, until his girlfriend found out." Marcus exhaled slowly. "That won't be a problem." "Shame," Riven murmured. "You have the most dangerous eyes. And I do so love danger." A knock interrupted them, Riven's assistant poking her head in. "Sir, your driver's waiting for the gala briefing." Marcus nodded. "I'll accompany you." Riven winked at him on the way out. "I'll try not to get you too excited." Later that evening, as they stepped into the private elevator of the gala venue, Riven adjusted his cufflinks while eyeing Marcus's reflection in the mirrored walls. "You clean up nice," Riven murmured. "But I have to admit, I liked you better in tactical gear." "All that black, very commanding." Marcus didn't respond. But when the doors slid shut and he caught Riven watching him in the reflection, eyes dragging down, lower, he finally turned. "I suggest you focus on your surroundings, not my uniform." Riven licked his lips slowly. "I can multitask." The tension was thick enough to choke on. And beneath it, Marcus could already tell this job was going to be hell. Or worse, temptation. Chapter 2, Close Quarters. Marcus didn't like surprises. So when the security intel revealed a credible threat against Riven, one involving a highly skilled stalker and a leaked travel itinerary, he wasted no time shutting down the CEO's luxurious penthouse in favor of a safer location. Riven, of course, had opinions. "You're making me move into a bunker," he said, watching Marcus with narrowed eyes as the elevator opened into a sleek, ultramodern safe house. "How romantic." "It's secure," Marcus replied, sweeping the space with practiced precision. "Panic room, reinforced windows, underground access, and I'll be here at all times." Riven's smile curled. "All times?" Marcus shot him a look. "Yes, that includes sleeping hours. There's only one master bedroom with secure walls. I'll take the couch." "Don't be ridiculous," Riven said, strolling past him and throwing his jacket over the back of the leather couch. "You're protecting my life. You should be comfortable. We'll share." Marcus froze. Riven glanced over his shoulder, a glint in his eye. "Unless you're afraid of proximity." "I'm not afraid of anything," Marcus replied tightly. "Good," Riven said, already halfway to the bedroom. "Then you won't mind sharing a bathroom either?" Later that night, Marcus stood in the bedroom doorway, towel around his neck, chest still damp from the shower. He'd worn sweats and a plain shirt, hoping to be alone for a moment. But Riven was already in bed, shirtless, under only a thin sheet. Reading glasses on, book in hand, and nothing else but mischief in his gaze. "You don't knock?" Riven asked lazily. "You said we were sharing." I did." "Sit down." Marcus hesitated. Riven patted the bed beside him. "It won't bite." Marcus took the armchair instead. Riven laughed, low and warm. "So stubborn. I bet you're like that in bed too." "Stop." "Why? Are you worried you'll like it?" Marcus stood. "I'm not here for games. You don't get to play with me the way you play with everyone else." Riven's expression shifted slightly, still playful, but more curious now. "Is that what you think I'm doing?" "I know it is." Riven sat up, glasses off. "And if I said you intrigue me? That I enjoy getting under your skin because it's the only way you feel something around me?" Marcus clenched his jaw. "That's not your concern." "Oh, but it is," Riven murmured. "Because for someone who claims to be here only to protect me, you look at me like you're seconds away from pinning me to a wall." Silence. Then Marcus turned, eyes sharp. "Don't test me." Riven met his gaze, voice dropping. "What if I want to?" He stood now too, chest bare, steps deliberate as he walked toward Marcus. Close, too close, until they were breathing the same air. And just when Marcus's hand twitched, maybe to push him back, maybe to pull him in, Riven leaned forward, lips brushing the shell of his ear. "I'm going to take a shower," he whispered, warm breath trailing down Marcus's neck. "If you change your mind, you know where I'll be." He walked off without looking back, the curve of his back teasing under the low-slung towel. Marcus sat very, very still. And when the water started running, he did not move. But his fists were clenched and his body was already burning. Chapter 3. Lines in the Sand. The next morning, the tension in the air was so thick Marcus could practically taste it, bitter with restraint, sharp with the echo of last night's nearly crossed line. He found Riven in the kitchen, shirtless again, of course, wearing only sleep pants and pouring himself an espresso like this was just another carefree day in paradise. His back was lean and toned, a sin in motion, and Marcus cursed silently when he caught his eyes drifting. "You're staring," Riven said without looking up. Marcus opened the fridge, trying to focus on literally anything else. "I'm assessing the space. I'm flattered my space needs such close inspection." Marcus exhaled hard through his nose and grabbed a bottle of water. "You're not making this easy." Riven finally turned, mug in hand, and leaned against the counter. "Why should I?" "Because I'm not here to be seduced," Marcus said, leveling him with a look. "I'm here to keep you alive." "And yet," Riven said, voice smooth, "you keep watching me like you're dying to break that rule." Marcus set his bottle down, jaw tightening. "Don't mistake interest for intent." "Oh, sweetheart," Riven drawled. "You're not made of stone. You want me." Marcus moved in one sharp step closer than was appropriate, deliberately invasive. "Let me make something clear. I don't sleep with clients. I don't flirt with them. And I sure as hell don't play games." Riven didn't back down. "Then why are you breathing like that?" Marcus realized his fists were clenched. His pulse thudded in his ears. Riven tilted his head, eyes dark and unreadable now. "You're not afraid of me," Riven said. "You're afraid of what I make you feel." That hit too close. Marcus stepped back. "I don't feel anything," he lied. Riven laughed softly, without humor. "You're better at lying to me than to yourself." He brushed past him, their shoulders grazing. It felt like a jolt. A current. As Riven walked away, Marcus remained frozen in place, water bottle forgotten, breath shallow, skin buzzing. That evening, after reviewing the building's security feeds and fortifying the perimeter, Marcus returned to the bedroom. Riven was already inside, stretched across the bed in navy silk, scrolling on his tablet. His skin glowed gold in the low light. Marcus turned toward the couch. "Wait," Riven said quietly. Marcus paused. "I won't touch you. Not unless you want me to." His voice was soft now, stripped of his usual teasing. "Just, don't sleep out there. It's cold. And lonely." Marcus turned slightly, catching the flicker of something raw in Riven's expression, vulnerability, maybe. "Real need." He said nothing but slowly crossed the room. He lay beside Riven, stiff and silent. Riven didn't move. But eventually, in the quiet, Riven whispered, "When you're near, I feel safe." Marcus turned his head. Their eyes met in the dark. And before he could stop himself, he reached out and brushed a strand of hair from Riven's face. "Sleep," Marcus murmured. "I've got you." Riven closed his eyes. Marcus didn't sleep that night. But he held the line. Barely. Chapter 4. Fire and Ice. The bullet missed by inches. It shattered the glass beside Riven's head as Marcus slammed into him, knocking them both to the marble floor. The ballroom erupted in chaos, screams, scattering guests, the high-pitched screech of feedback from the sound system. Marcus didn't flinch. He was already moving, shielding Riven's body with his own, pistol drawn, eyes scanning. "Stay down," he growled. "Marcus." Riven started, but the bodyguard was already gone, disappearing into the blur of confusion and smoke, chasing the shooter. 22 minutes later, the threat was neutralized. No casualties. Shooter in custody. And Riven was sitting in a secure vehicle, his hands shaking slightly despite the bravado on his face. Marcus climbed in, jaw clenched, shirt torn from the scuffle, blood on his knuckles that wasn't his. He looked at Riven, really looked. The paleness of his skin, the tremble in his fingers, the drop of sweat running down his temple. Without a word, Marcus reached forward and cupped his jaw gently. "You're okay," he said. "I've got you." Riven's mouth opened, but nothing came out. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. Then Riven surged forward and kissed him. It wasn't playful. It wasn't calculated. It was raw, desperate, the kiss of someone who'd nearly died and needed to feel something to remind them they were alive. Marcus didn't stop him. His arms wrapped around Riven instinctively, pulling him into his lap. The kiss deepened, tongues, teeth, heat. Riven's hands fisted Marcus's shirt, dragging him closer, his hips grinding down shamelessly. The partition between control and need shattered. Marcus stood, Riven in his arms, and carried him straight to the penthouse elevator. No words. Just searing glances, breathless tension, lips meeting again and again in furious bursts. The moment they were inside the suite, Riven shoved Marcus against the wall and kissed him like a man starved. His hands roamed over muscle, scars, every hard plane of Marcus's body. He bit Marcus's lower lip. "Tell me you want this." "I shouldn't," Marcus rasped. "That's not a no." Marcus grabbed Riven by the hips and reversed their positions, pinning him against the door. "It's everything but a no." Clothes hit the floor. Mouths explored skin. The room was filled with panting, gasps, groans. Nothing elegant, nothing soft. It was frantic, furious. The sound of two men finally combusting after days of friction. When Marcus finally buried himself in Riven. Slow, deep, relentless. It wasn't gentle. It was claiming. Riven arched, cried out, dug his nails into Marcus's back. "Mine!" Marcus growled into his neck. Riven's answer was a breathless moan. Finally. Afterward, their bodies tangled in damp sheets. Marcus stared at the ceiling, chest still heaving. Riven was silent for a long time, lying on his side, facing him. "I don't regret it," Riven whispered. "I do," Marcus said. The words sliced through the room like a blade. But Marcus didn't move, didn't look away, because now I want more. Riven's gaze softened. "Then take it." Marcus closed his eyes, and knew in that moment the line he'd drawn had burned to ash. Chapter 5, Morning After, Unspoken. The silence was heavier than the sex had been. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed, back to Riven as the sun spilled across the sheets like a spotlight on their mistake. His shirt was half-buttoned, his jaw tight. The air was still thick with the scent of sweat, cologne, and sin. Behind him, Riven stirred, shifting lazily, sheets pooling low on his hips. "You're dressing like you're about to disappear," he said, voice still husky with sleep and something darker. Marcus didn't turn around. "I should have never let it happen." Riven pushed himself up on one elbow. "You didn't let it happen, Marcus. You wanted it. Just like I did." "I'm your bodyguard," Marcus said, standing now, fists clenched. "Not your lover. Not your plaything." "Then why did you stay the night?" Riven asked, rising from the bed, completely unbothered by his own nakedness. He walked toward Marcus, slow, deliberate, his voice dangerously low. "Why are you acting like touching me was a crime?" Marcus spun, eyes flashing. "Because it felt like everything." Riven stopped. The words hung between them, too raw, too honest. Marcus dragged a hand through his hair, pacing away again. "You don't get it. I'm not wired for casual. And you don't do serious. I crossed a line last night, and now we're both in the crossfire." Riven's lips parted slightly. "So you're pushing me away. Classic. I'm keeping you alive. Then stay." Riven's voice cracked, more emotion in it than Marcus had ever heard. "Don't screw me and then run because you're scared of what it meant." Marcus met his gaze, breath shallow. I'm not scared, he said. I'm protecting the only thing that matters right now, your life. Riven stepped close again, chest brushing Marcus's. Then protect it from the right threats. I'm one of them. That shut Riven up. He watched as Marcus walked out of the bedroom, bare feet silent on the hardwood, the distance between them stretching wider than ever. Later, at a midday meeting with the board, Riven was all polished charm and biting sarcasm, his armor back on, his flirtatious smile sharp enough to cut. No one noticed how tense his jaw was, how his fingers kept clenching around his pen. Marcus stood in the back, silent, ever-watchful, eyes unreadable behind the professional mask he wore so well. They didn't speak. Not a word. But when Riven brushed past him on the way out, he didn't miss the way Marcus's hand twitched like he wanted to reach for him. Didn't. Wouldn't. Couldn't. That night, the bed was too big, too cold. Riven lay awake, one arm over his eyes, replaying every second of Marcus inside him. Every growl. Every whisper. Every regret. And somewhere down the hall, Marcus sat alone in the dark, gun at his side, heart-fucking bleeding. Chapter 6, The Breaking Point. 3 days. That's how long it had been since they touched. 3 days of silence. Of watching. Of aching. Marcus had thrown himself into his work like a man possessed, upgrading the security systems, vetting every staff member, triple-checking exit plans. But no amount of planning could guard him from the look in Riven's eyes every time they passed in the hallway. It was killing him. And Riven wasn't doing any better. He was restless, distracted, volatile with his board, short with his assistant. He couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Every breath tasted like Marcus, like restraint, like frustration, like unfinished business. So when Riven returned from a late-night meeting to find Marcus in the penthouse gym, shirt off, sweat glistening, punching the heavy bag like it owed him a confession, he snapped. "You're going to break your wrist," Riven said from the doorway. Marcus didn't stop. "Go to bed. Stop running." That did it. Marcus hit the bag one last time, hard enough to make it swing, then turned, eyes blazing. "I'm not running." "Bullshit," Riven said, stepping into the room. "You've been avoiding me since the moment you left my bed. That's not part of my job." "You already fucked your job, Marcus," Riven said, voice rising. "Now own it." Silence fell. Thick, tense, and trembling. Marcus's chest heaved. He took a step forward. "What do you want from me, Riven?" Riven's voice dropped, tight with emotion. "I want the man who touched me like I meant something. I want the man who held me like I was more than a target. I want you." Marcus's breath hitched. "I can't give you what you want," he said hoarsely. "Why not?" Riven demanded, closing the distance until they were chest to chest. "Because you're afraid you'll love me?" Marcus's mouth opened, but the words never came. "Because it was true. All of it. I see it," Riven whispered. "In every look. Every time you clench your jaw and pretend I'm not under your skin." Marcus's hand shot out, grabbing Riven's wrist. "You think you want me, but I'm not safe for you." "I don't want safe," Riven hissed. "I want real." That was the breaking point. Marcus pulled him in and crushed their mouths together. It wasn't soft. It wasn't sweet. It was a goddamn war. Tongues, teeth, desperation. Riven moaned into the kiss, fingers clawing at Marcus's back, dragging him down, gasping when Marcus slammed him into the nearest wall. Legs around his waist, arms around his shoulders. "Tell me to stop," Marcus growled against his neck. Riven arched. "Don't you fucking dare." Clothes came off in frantic bursts. Torn, tossed, forgotten. Marcus lifted Riven, carrying him across the room like nothing, throwing him onto the padded mat. They didn't make it to the bedroom. Riven pulled Marcus down, spread wide. No shame, no hesitation. "Take me," he gasped. No holding back this time. And Marcus did. Hard, fast, deep. Over and over until they were both shaking, panting, falling apart in each other's arms. When it was over, Riven lay beneath him, trembling, flushed, eyes glassy. Marcus brushed the damp hair from his forehead pressed to his. "I can't lose you." "Then don't," Riven whispered. "Stay. Let this be more." Marcus swallowed hard. And for once he didn't run. He pulled Riven in, wrapped his arms around him, and held on like a man finally letting himself fall. Chapter 7, Threats and Thorns. Marcus woke with Riven wrapped around him like sin and silk. The morning light spilled across their bodies, bruised, spent, and entangled. For the first time in weeks, Riven's breathing was steady in sleep. Peaceful. Vulnerable in a way Marcus had never seen. Marcus let himself watch. Just for a minute. Then the burner phone rang. He grabbed it instantly, slipping from bed without waking Riven. In the hallway, he answered with a low, "Go." A voice crackled through one of his underground contacts. "Your guy's leak runs deeper than you thought." The stalker wasn't just a deranged fan, he was hired. Marcus's blood turned cold. By who? That's the part you're not gonna like. A pause. Someone inside his company. High up. You're looking at an inside hit, Marcus. Probably corporate. Maybe even personal. Marcus's stomach dropped. His instincts screamed. He ended the call and turned back toward the bedroom. Riven was awake now, sitting up, shirtless, tousled, watching him from the bed like he already knew. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Riven said softly. "Someone's trying to kill you," Marcus said bluntly. "And it might be someone you've shared a table with." Riven's smile vanished. "You're sure? Someone with access. Someone who knew your location before I scrambled the plans." Riven stood slowly, the mood darkening. "The board's been circling like vultures since I took over. Half of them hate me. And some of them," he trailed off. Marcus stepped forward. "You need to be careful who you trust." "I only trust you," Riven said. That hit harder than it should have. Marcus took his face in both hands. "Then listen to me. Until I know who's behind this, you don't go anywhere alone. You stay close. No press. No appearances. No reckless moves." Riven smirked faintly. "You mean no baiting snipers while shirtless on balconies?" Marcus didn't smile. "I'm serious." "I know," Riven said. "And that's why I'm scared." They stared at each other. The heat between them still simmered, underscored now by something even stronger. Fear. Real fear. Riven stepped closer, voice low. "Promise me you'll protect yourself too." Marcus blinked. "You're the one in danger." Riven leaned in. "That doesn't mean I don't worry. You think I could handle losing you?" Marcus didn't answer. He kissed him instead, slow, deep, protective. Like a vow. That night, they didn't fuck. They made love. Slow, deliberate, burning. And somewhere between Riven gasping Marcus's name and Marcus whispering, "I've got you. I always will." A boundary shattered. This wasn't just protection. It wasn't just sex. It was beginning to feel like something permanent. Something terrifying. Something worth dying and killing for. Chapter 8, The Knife Behind the Smile. Marcus had his suspicions. But he wasn't ready for her. Sienna Vale? Chief Operating Officer. Impeccable suits, charming smile, and eyes that had once lingered too long on Riven's mouth during shareholder dinners. Marcus had always known she was ambitious. He didn't know she was willing to kill for it. He stood hidden behind a soundproofed wall in the surveillance room of Vale Tech's HQ, watching the security feed as Sienna met with a hired fixer in her private office. The audio was crystal clear. "Once he's out of the picture," Sienna said, swirling her wine, "the board will vote in my favor. The boy's too distracted anyway. Did you see him at the last meeting? He's fucking his bodyguard. Sloppy." Marcus didn't flinch. He memorized every word, every smug gesture. And then he left. When he returned to the penthouse, Riven was pacing, phone in hand. "You've been gone for hours, what the hell?" Marcus strode straight to him, pulled him close, and kissed him. Hard. Fierce. Riven melted into it, gasping. "What was that for?" Marcus rested his forehead against his. "To remind myself what I'm protecting." Riven blinked. "What did you find?" Marcus hesitated, then told him everything. By the end, Riven's hands were shaking. "Sienna? Sienna tried to have me killed." "Not just tried," Marcus said. "She's not done. She knows about us. She's going to use it." Riven's breath caught. "What do we do?" Marcus's voice was cold steel. "We take her down before she makes another move." But Riven wasn't listening anymore. He was remembering the way Sienna hugged him after his father died. How she whispered, "I've got your back always." He turned away, suddenly quiet. "Everyone around me wants something. Power, money, control. And now, even people I trusted." Marcus stepped behind him and wrapped his arms around Riven's waist. "I don't want anything from you." Riven leaned back into him. "You already have everything I could give." They stayed like that for a long time, quiet in the storm. Until Marcus whispered, "She'll try again. She's too close not to." Riven looked up at him. "Then we hit first." Later that night, with Marcus's hand wrapped tightly around Riven's, they walked into the Lion's Den. Vailteca's quarterly gala, where Sienna would no doubt make her next move. Riven wore midnight black silk. Marcus wore a holster under his jacket. They were fire and gunpowder. and someone was about to strike the match. Chapter 9, Blood, Fire, and the Truth Between Us. The Veil Tech Gala was a glittering facade. Crystal chandeliers, designer gowns, jazz echoing through golden halls. But beneath the surface? Tension, threats, a bodyguard and CEO walking into a trap together. Riven's fingers curled around Marcus's hand in the back of the limo. "We're really doing this." Marcus gave a faint nod, his voice low and sharp. "Stay close. If anything feels wrong, say the word." Riven leaned in, lips brushing Marcus's ear. "If anything goes wrong, you better not die on me." Marcus's jaw clenched. "Not planning to." Inside, Sienna was already playing queen. She moved through the room like she owned it, laughing, kissing cheeks, sipping champagne. When she spotted Riven, her smile sharpened. "Riven," she purred, gliding over in her silver gown. "You made it." Riven gave her a practiced smile, Marcus shadowing him like a wolf in a tux. "Wouldn't miss it." Her eyes flicked to Marcus. "Still bringing your muscle to formal events?" Riven smirked. "He goes with everything." Marcus said nothing, but he was already scanning the exits, noting the extra guards who weren't his. Too many suits. Too many unknown faces. Then the signal came, a flicker on his comms, movement on the West Wing balcony. "Armed." Marcus leaned into Riven's ear. "It's happening. Now." But Riven didn't flinch. He turned to Sienna, glass in hand. "Funny thing about secrets, Sienna." She raised a brow. "They always bleed out in the end." Before she could reply, the lights went out. Gunshots cracked through the darkness. Screams erupted. Marcus slammed Riven to the ground, covering him with his body as chaos exploded around them. He fired twice, clean shots, dropped one hostile. The second made it halfway across the ballroom before Marcus's knife found his throat. Sienna tried to run, but Riven was faster. He grabbed her by the wrist and pinned her against a column, breathing hard. "You wanted me gone so bad? Say it to my face." Her expression twisted. "You never belonged here. You're reckless. Weak." "No," Marcus growled, stepping in behind her, pressing a gun to her back. "He's better than any of you." Sienna laughed bitterly. "And you? You think this," she spat, gesturing between them, "isn't going to be your downfall?" "No," Riven said. "It's what's going to save me." Later, after the shooters were arrested, and Sienna was handed off to the authorities, Marcus and Riven sat together on the rooftop of the tower. The night was quiet. Finally, Riven turned to him, eyes tired but alive. "You stayed." "I always will." Riven looked down, then back up, raw, exposed. "I'm in love with you." Marcus didn't flinch. He just reached out and pulled Riven onto his lap, arms around him, forehead to forehead. "I know," Marcus said, "and I've been in love with you since the first time you teased me in that stupid elevator." Riven laughed against his mouth. "That was a great suit. You're a menace. You like it." Marcus kissed him. Hard. Slow. Like it was the first time. And this time, no one was watching. No one was hunting. This time, it was real. Chapter 10, What We Built from Ashes. The dawn spilled soft and golden over the city skyline as Marcus and Riven sat side by side on the penthouse balcony. The air smelled like rain and new beginnings. Riven's fingers traced lazy patterns on Marcus's forearm. "We made it." Marcus's eyes never left the horizon. "We did. But this," he squeezed Riven's hand, "is just the start." Riven laughed softly. "You sound like a CEO giving a keynote." Marcus smirked. "Maybe I am." They leaned into each other, breaths mingling, hearts steady in a way neither expected. In the weeks that followed, the threats faded. Sienna was behind bars, her network dismantled. The board's vultures dispersed. And Marcus and Riven, no longer just protector in charge, built something fierce and real. Marcus learned to trust vulnerability. Riven discovered the strength in surrender. Together, they balanced on the edge of passion and partnership. Their nights were filled with whispered promises, slow, burning touches, and endless explorations. One evening, after a dinner filled with laughter and stolen glances, Marcus led Riven to the balcony. The city lights flickered like stars beneath them. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Riven's breath caught. "I'm not great with speeches," Marcus said, voice rough, "but I want you. All of you. In this life and whatever comes next." He opened the box to reveal a sleek, understated ring. Riven smiled, tears shimmering in his eyes. Yes, he breathed. They kissed. Slow and sure, sealing their promise against the backdrop of a city that had once threatened to tear them apart, but now held their future together.